Our sacred texts throughout the series, we've been holding these words from the prophet Joel, words that remind us of the truth of God being shared across all generations. The word of the Lord that came to Joel, son of Pethuel. Hear this, O elders, give ear, all inhabitants of the land. Has such a thing happened in your days or in the days of your ancestors? Tell your children of it. Let your children tell their children and their children another generation. I will pour out my Spirit on all flesh. Your sons and your daughters shall prophesy. Your old men shall dream dreams. Your young men shall see visions. Even on the male and female slaves in those days, I will pour out my Spirit. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God.
Surprise, I'm a millennial. Hi. We're going to be hearing from a couple other millennials in the congregation this morning, and I want to tell you that this was an absolute surprise. I was walking to my office last week after worship, and these two people who I don't think I've ever had a full conversation with stopped me in the hallway and said, so who's speaking next week? And I, being a millennial, had no clue. And they volunteered. We have the privilege in this church of hosting Western students in our choir week after week, but today is a special day because we have the specific privilege of hearing about their life stories. And so I want to welcome Liz and Andrew this morning. Praise God. Come forward.
Hi, my name is Liz Wood. As you heard, I'm a Western student. So my generation, the millennials, are talked a lot about in today's media. We have a reputation for being dependent on our parents. We're addicted to our mobile devices and social media, and we come out of school with a lot of debt. While those things may be a bit true, I'd like to debunk the association with those things for being lazy. Our parents were constantly encouraging us as children to do whatever we wanted to do. Thanks to past generations, we had the liberty to do whatever we wanted to do. And because of that, we had the largest number of people in our generation attending college and furthering our education. Because of our generation's thrive to educate ourselves, we have acquired the largest amount of debt any generation has seen. College tuition costs have increased over 1,200% over the last 30 years, and most college students don't finish in 4 years anymore. Many of us are working while we're at school to defray the amount of loans that we need to take out while we're in college so we can survive, and the average student still comes out of college with $25,000 in debt. All right, once we finish school, many of us believe we are wonderful at what we do because our parents always told us that we were. So we don't understand why we start off in lower positions once we enter the workforce. And that's if we get employed in our field at all. And then meanwhile, we have to still figure out some way to pay off our student loans. This large amount of debt puts our generation in a difficult position in deciding whether to be independent and starting off our own families or live with our parents so we can save up a little bit of money while still paying back loans. We saw so many people in our parents' generation putting relationships ahead of their careers, and then we watched half of them get divorced. So we see no problem with putting our career first and waiting a couple years to start about that and, get a little bit, more savvy in relationships. While we may have jaded thoughts about our personal lives, our generation has the largest percent of people going into the workforce in areas of education and nonprofit organizations. of any generation before us. The millennials are very passionate about what they do, even if it doesn't provide the highest means of living. I am very much a part of this generation. I'm scheduled to finish my 6th and final year at Western this spring, and I will be graduating with degrees in choral music education and nonprofit leadership. I've accepted that I will never be rich, and I will probably be paying my student loans off until my children go off to college. But I will be rich in the sense that I'll be doing what I love every day and helping to shape the next generation of students so they can be the best that they will be. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Am I doing this right? All right. So I started off with a little bit of an introduction about myself. My name is Andrew Miller. As you probably know, I'm a singer with the choir from WMU. I'm a senior of sorts, because nowadays seniors are like up to a 3-year classification. I work a couple retail jobs at the Crossroads Mall. I work at Express and in women's shoes at Macy's. So ladies, if you ever need any new shoes or boots are in season, come see me, I can help you out. All right, that's my only shameless plug, I promise. I was born in Ann Arbor on December 23rd, 1990. You know, I'm Michigan born and raised. You'd think I'd be used to our winters by now. But as this new one approaches, I ask myself again why I chose to stay here. The answer, of course, is that beautiful 1 week of spring before summer. All right. I have a decent-sized family, an older sister who lives in Seattle with her husband and 2 kids, a younger brother who's currently on his mission down in McAllen, Texas, younger sister in her junior year of high school living with my mom, and then 2 more younger sisters ages 7 and 4 who live with my dad and stepmom back on the east side. I grew up in the Mormon church, which actually acted as a great fundamental belief system for me. Enough about my background, though. I'm here in front of you today to talk about the millennial generation. Now, in advance, I'd like to ask your forgiveness if this comes across as jumbled or if I make the same point multiple times or even contradict myself within this talk. Keeping true to the fashion of my generation, I was still placing finishing touches on this on the way to church this morning. I found it kind of difficult to talk about the legacy of our generation because we're still so young. You know, how can we know what we're going to leave behind when there's still so much time to leave it? Our generation is often viewed by older generations as entitled and narcissistic. But, I mean, we can't help that we're such talented, hardworking, confident, passionate individuals. You know, I forgot to mention, we're so modest. No, really, it's probably our greatest attribute. Ooh, I dropped a pencil. All right, but let's get back to how our generation is perceived. It seems that a lot of the older generations don't really know what to do with us. As I said earlier, the first characteristics used to describe us are entitled, narcissistic, and stubborn. And while this is all true, I would add that my generation is above all else innovative. We are always looking for or expecting something better, so we're called entitled. We refuse to do things the way they've been done, so they call us spoiled. We no longer need to accept things the way they're given to us. We have the ability to check as many sources as we see fit before accepting a truth. We have the ability to say no to the common mold and pave our own path. We're not about climbing the ladder. We're about circumventing it. Our generation isn't afraid to reinvent the wheel, and I think that's one of the things that makes us so strong. While discussing with my friends the greatest thing about our generation, it was nice to find out that most of us are on the same page. It's this creativity and innovation that'll be our legacy. We took the tools given to us by previous generations and expanded them, and we'll keep on going because enough is never enough for us. We strive to make things better, and if we don't see something we want, we create it. We can see this most clearly with the development of technology and this new global network. Growing up with television, cell phones, and the internet gave us awesome opportunity. This and our development of social media set us apart. We live in an era of self-expression and acceptance, where in an instant you can post your ideas, music, and art, really anything you can create all over the world so everyone can see it. We also expanded on the ideals generations from before have fought so hard for. We've taken equality of the sexes a step further with gender fluidity. We've taken cultural acceptance and expanded it to cultural humility. We're actively trying to change the face of feminism. I don't know if any of you saw the speech Emma Watson gave at the UN, and that was incredible. It's trying to take away the negative associations with the word and just bring it back to believing in equality above all else. You know, we're taking the idea of the social norm and throwing it out the window. Because our whole world is connected, we've grown up interacting with and accepting people for who they are, even if that differs from who we are. I love the fact that I can sit in a room where everyone has different cultural and religious backgrounds, have different political views and completely diverse life goals, and it's completely fine. It's becoming a more beautiful world where someone else doesn't have to be wrong for you to be right. All right, I was also asked to speak about the negative portions of my generation, and specifically the idolatry of millennials. And I found that the word idolatry in itself was pretty accurate. We're a pretty material bunch. You know, with the constant innovation and new gadgets coming out all the time, the want for more is very present within each of us. We're also pretty obsessed with ourselves. Another nickname for the millennials is Generation Me. Our confidence and tolerance is only rivaled by our entitlement and narcissism. So it's easy to see how we're labeled like that. Our generation has also fallen away from religion. Not so much spiritually, but the institution itself. We won't believe something just because we're supposed to. We're not hearing or receiving the substance we crave, so we're turning away. I'm not saying that all religions are the issue. You know, this congregation is actually pretty awesome, and I really do enjoy coming here every Sunday morning. It's just generally religion preaches that we're wrong for what we believe, and it was only a matter of time before we turned it around. Personally, I've been through my fair share of struggles with religion. I really loved growing up in the Mormon church, but even as a child, I had some important questions. I was taught that God made you and loved you for who you are, no matter what, unless. I could never understand how a God could love unconditionally with conditions. Then as I grew up and realized I was different from the rest of my class, it got harder to blindly follow. I was taught that I was wrong for who I am, and it was really difficult for me to get past that. I chose to walk away from the church because I refused to believe in something that didn't believe in me. By choosing that, though, I chose to walk away from the community my religion granted me. Gathering on the Sabbath and taking a day of rest does so many wonderful things for you mentally, physically, and spiritually. We've talked about it for so long. And it makes me really sad that a lot of my peers have chosen to stop participating because of the stigma involved. Another issue with my generation is one of the very same things we pride ourselves in, technology. We're so focused on everywhere else that we forget to focus on where we actually are. Ooh, excuse me. We've gotten so obsessed with social media that we can't socialize in real life. Too many of us can't make eye contact in a conversation. You're always looking down at something. The amount of times I've sat in a room with all of my friends and every single one of us is on our phone is ridiculous. And we've actually implemented rules where we'll have to put our phones in the middle of the table or the middle of the room whenever we're hanging out. And if you touch it, there's a punishment of some sort. It's a fun game. It changes all the time. But I mean, it's kind of ridiculous as that's necessary. These things outline what I believe is the shadow of our generation, and that's a lost sense of community. We're connected to the entire world, yet we forget to connect to the world we're actually a part of. It seems that most of the things that make our generation great simultaneously hold it back. We're too busy chasing our own dreams to even think of chasing the one that was dreamed for us. Now, I hate to end on a sad note, so I'm not going to. You know, it's a slow journey, but every day we're getting closer to that golden horizon. Though many of us have been conditioned to be cynical, I believe there's still hope in every single one of us. Hope for a better world. You know, where our daughters can walk down the sidewalk at night without fear in every step. Where our sons can cry freely and express what they're feeling. Where people of every race, belief, and walk of life can gather and form a global community. Millennials keep moving forward. And when the door closes, we dig a tunnel. We refuse to accept things aren't possible. If not us, who? If not now, when? Together, all of our generations, we can create a world where because of who you are and where you are on life's journey, you are beautiful and you are welcomed, and you're accepted.